Pioneer.
Yo, what is going on, guys? EJ here, bringing another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. Today, guys, we're going to be going over the evil commanders for the 2.0 coming up, or the PBE with all the testing. We're doing a tier list of the evil commanders. I've been going through and checking out a lot from all their skills and everything, looking at a lot of battle reports in the PBE and that. It's been at least a week or so since I released the good side, so I've been taking some time to go over all the skills and everything and break down everything so I can try to do a more accurate evil side, because we all know I do play good side, so I don't generally use the evil commanders, so I've had to do a lot more research in breaking down all of their skills and everything like that, and looking at reports from a lot of people in the PBE and stuff like that. To get all my information, so hopefully I can do a quite decent, accurate tier list for you guys today. Quick shout out to Fellow of the Rings as well. Let me use these images that he had made. Made my job a lot easier, because I do get confused with some of the evil commanders. For example, you've got Uglak and Ugthrak. I used to always get them mixed up all the time and that. So yeah, a big thank you to him for letting me use the images. Makes my life so much easier when using Tier Maker. So yeah, we threw them in. We got them all there, so it'll be easy to see. So we're going to get into this, guys. We're going to just go through. I'm going to talk about each commander, all of their skills and stuff, and why they're good. And then we're going to rate and place them. So the first one we're going to start off with, guys. I'm just going on the list that I've got them here. So we're going to start off with the Witch King. So the Witch King has some really good skills. For the first one, which is the really big one, the Black Captain, at a max level effect of level 10, all 4 formations will have a 75% chance of gaining follow-up each round. He also has a skill called Lord of Nazgul that does 320% focus damage and inflicts stun, as well as the skill Ring Wraith, which we will be hearing a lot about, because all the Wraiths will have this skill. So for 2 rounds, a 250% focus damage to 2 formations. So just from them skills alone, he is really good. He is a very good commander if you want to use in the lead position of your formation. So in saying that, where does the Witch King belong on this list? So I think the Witch King is extremely good. I wouldn't put him quite up into the God mode status, but I think that the Witch King is a very good leveled at meta level S+ commander status in this tier list. Coming on next, we have Undying. Now, Undying is absolutely amazing. So we have multiple skills here. We'll just quickly talk about a couple of them. So Undead Commander, 3 allied formations at level 5 have a 90% chance to evade damage from the first 4 hits. Also, he has some quite decent physical damage attacks. As well, he has the skill which does 1000% HP heal, which is really good. Now, Undying, in that sense, just let alone from the skill of his evade, which is really good, guys, he is going to be placed up into the God tier level. I've versed him a lot. He's really, really good using as a lead commander in the formation. I've battled him a lot, and even with my super commanders on the good side, he is the one commander that stands out above all when versing. He really gives me a very, very tough battle. So yeah, he is super strong God mode, and I highly recommend that every single person that plays the evil side to have him in your formation. Rightio, guys, so next we have Lurtz. Now, Lurtz is obviously a very good commander that does very good commander damage as such. Now, a lot of these attacks are going to do a lot of physical damage. He also has skills that are going to buff Urukai's attack and defense, for example. And with his multiple damaging skills and big buffs on Urukai troops, he does very good. So you want to be fighting with him with his strengths of using Urukai units with him. And his commander damage, let alone, is going to put him straight up near the top there in the level of meta commanders, and I'm going to place him right up. For physical damage, he's probably up there as probably the best, if not, yeah, probably the absolute best on the evil side for the amount of physical damage that he can do. And in saying that, I think he is really good, and I'm going to place him up in the meta level just below the Witch King, because I still think the Witch King's follow-up and that is fantastic. But Lurtz is really good physical commander, and he's really good as a leader in a lead formation. Next, guys, we have is Grima. Now, Grima has a few skills here that we'll talk about. So, he does have attack buffs and defense reduction on 2 formations and a 35% chance to inflict madness when using small units. He also has a skill called Infliction Survivor, which this skill, 3 formations defense is +10, and also poison damage by commanders attacks and has a chance to inflict stun. So he does have that chance to inflict madness. He's pretty good with small units. He's not as good as he used to be, without a doubt. Like I feel like he's been a definite very big nerf to him. And in saying that, I think he is not an absolute OP commander, but I think he can be a quite good commander. So in saying that, we are going to place Grima up in the good section, right at the top at the time being, in the good tier as so right there. Alright, next we have a Saruman. Now Saruman is great. So he has a skill which does damage reduction for 2 allied formations, and also has the ability of, when getting to the correct level, of gaining madness immunity. Now his skill, which is called Of Many Colors, is insane. It does huge focus damage with poison and burn effects. So this is going to be super strong, which puts him right up there in the top. He also has a skill called Sharku, which 3 formations attack and defense are buffed +10. So we all know that skills that are going to affect multiple formations, as well as that multiple skill of the color skill, which does not only the focus but also does poison and burn damage, is going to do a ton of damage. And there, I think he is right up there with the meta commanders. I don't think that he is as good as Lurtz and Witchking, but for what he is, we are going to place him just up in the meta section, just below those 2 commanders. Next, guys, we have is the Black Serphant. Now, the Black Serphant has skills like the Horn of Harad, which it affects 3 formations attack +30. Now, this will decrease over 4 rounds at max level. It also does huge burn damage at 400% twice every 2 rounds of a cooldown, as well 3 men or evil men formations defense +10 on his last final R5 skill. So not only is he going to be doing that massive burn damage, but also that plus attack is really going to help for the 3 formations. So it's going to kind of stack there, as well as the buff. You want to be using men or evil units with him. And in saying that, I think he is a really good commander, and I'm going to place him up in the first tier level of Great. So we're going to place the Black Serphant up as such into the Great section. Our next commander, guys, is going to be Sauron. So we all know Sauron's really good with focus and stuff, so he's going to be able to do focus and have madness against 2 formations. He also has a skill that does damage reduction for 2 of 3 formations and a chance to gain stun. He also does a lot of focus damage, which does carry this attack with pursuit, which is really good. So it's going to be very useful if you come up any commanders that have a lot of evasion, like on the good side, like Gilgalad, for example. So you're still going to be a pretty good counter there. So just with the effects, with the chance of doing a lot of focus damage and some good damage reduction as well, with up to 3 formations, I think he is a really good commander. And I'm going to place Sauron right up there, guys, into the Great section. I don't think he is completely OP, but I think he's an absolute great commander. But I don't think he is as good as the Black Serphant, so I'm going to place him here as such. Alright, next, guys, we have Kirun. I'm just going to talk about him just a little bit. So he does have a chance to do stun, but it is a very low percentage. He also does do things like attack and defense reduction to enemy formations. And that's about it for him. Like, he's nowhere near as good as he used to be. I think at good, he is an okay commander. So he's going to be our first commander to be placed down into the okay section. Just because it's okay doesn't mean he's particularly bad. But he is okay. But, like, for example, I think Grima is definitely better than Kirun now, which is quite sad to see as a tier 3 commander. Next, guys, we have Sunind. Now, she is quite very good. You want to be using Orc commanders with her. Orc troops. And so, for all formations on her skill, all formations that have Orcs are going to get a buff of attack +15. She also has defensive buffs for formations of orc units, and at max level it has a HP restore buff, which for each round it affects 3 formations. So she's going to do a lot of healing, and she's also going to be buffing a lot of orcs, which if using those orc units is going to do a lot of damage. Now I think she is quite good, and we don't have anyone in the OP section yet, so I think the correct section I'll be placing her is up in the OP section. She is quite nice. She's still going to stand out as doing a lot of damage. But yeah, compared to 1.0 into 2.0, she's definitely not as good as she used to be. Moving on, guys, we have Khamul. Now, has a few skills like the Ring Wraith skill that we've talked about. Where you will hear a lot about Ring Wraith a lot, like doing 250% focus damage, for example. But yeah, just does a lot of skills that do focus damage with the chance of doing some poison damage as well. And also that Ring Wraith skill with the 250% focus damage does have a chance to inflict stun of 90%. Khamul is okay, but I think at the moment, not an absolute bad commander in the West, but is okay only. So definitely not as good as Kirun, so we're going to place it into the okay section. Okay, moving on, next we have Gothmog. Okay, Gothmog is quite decent. He's got a lot of physical damage to multiple formations. He has the skill of Morgul Lieutenant, which for 3 rounds, attack and defense of trolls, Uruk-hai, and such are going to be increased. And 3 formations plus 15 attack for 4 rounds at level 5. So he has quite really good buffs. He's going to be able to do a lot of damage. He also does do a little bit of siege at level 10 as well, which is pretty good. But yeah, his siege has been affected a lot. I think he is a really good commander, and I think I'm going to place him up definitely in the good section, but below Grima. Alright, next, guys, we have his Uglak. Now, he has effects such as commander formation, so he's going to be doing a lot of commander only, which increases the attack buff. He also does physical damage to only 1 formation, so it doesn't have multiple formation physical damage. And he has buffs of attack and defense only to his specific commander formation. So he's going to be a commander only unit formation, which is going to be doing that attack. So standalone is okay, but all in all, as an overall commander, he is going to be our first commander that's going to go into the bad section. He doesn't work in full good unity as a full formation working with the other 4. And yeah, I think overall he is quite a bad commander. Moving on, next we have Grishnak. Now, Grishnak has skills where orc attack for 2 formations are going to be increased with also a the attack will be increased by 15. It also does have the chance of increasing poison damage as a one-off effect at level 5. For 2 rounds, it also does defense buffs at low rate rounds with a low chance of inflicting stun against 1 to 2 formations. So yeah, all in all, again, he's not that good. So I could put him in the okay section, but compared to Kirun and Khamul, not that good. So I'm going to be placing into the bad section. But he is definitely better than Uglak, so I'm going to place him into the bad section down there. Okay, so Azru-khor that we have next, guys. So Azru is pretty good, but not fantastic. So for his own commander formation, he's going to have HP restore. He will be doing a fair bit of burn damage as well. Also, if you use ranged unit in his actual formation, he will have the chance to commit some follow-up as well in that formation. He is quite decent. I wouldn't say he is absolutely particularly terrible. He is an okay commander, but I would definitely place him below Khamul and Kirun, so we're going to place him into the okay section right there. Okay, next we have Mouth of Sauron. Now, we always knew that Mouth of Sauron was really good at doing a lot of damage reduction and such. So he has things like for the first 3 rounds, 3 formations on both sides have an attack reduction of 25. And also he has a skill which where normal attacks will carry a percentage of 120% focus damage. You will hear a lot about this skill because it is on a lot of the other wraiths in the evil side commanders. He also has a skill called Messenger skill, which at level 5, 4 rounds will be doing a lot of damage of increased max of level 10 damage dealt to 2 enemy commanders with a reduction of 50% of that amount of damage done, which is really good. Also, he has a skill which were medium units, so you want to be using particular medium units. With 3 formations, that medium units attack will be increased plus 15. So he is actually quite decent at doing a lot of reduction of damage, not only for himself, but for the enemy side. And in saying that, I think he is quite good, and he is a pretty good commander. I'm going to place him straight up into the good section. Not as good as Grima and Gothmog, but I'm going to place him up into the good section as such there. Okay, next guys, we have the Shadow. Now the Shadow is fantastic. We'll just talk about a few things straight off. So he does have the skill which we just talked about, which with commander attacks does have the ability of doing 120% focus damage as well. And the Ring Wraith skill, which does 250% focus damage and a 90% chance of stun. And as we know, he has the Undertaker physical skill, which does physical damage to 3 formations, which is really good. But the big one, the Shape of the Void, for the first 4 rounds, 90% chance to gain follow-up. And the commander has the chance to do a lot of normal attack buffs as well. So it's really good there, guys. And so as a leading commander in a formation is very strong with that chance of that 90% follow-up. Is going to do a lot of damage. And in saying that, I think that the Shadow is a very good OP commander. Definitely better than Sunind. So it's going to be getting placed up into the top section of OP commanders. Almost into the meta level. But yeah, in saying that, if the follow-up affected not only the one commander formation, if it affected multiple formations, he would be straight up probably into near God mode. But in saying that, he is an OP commander. Alright, next guys, we have Adunane. Has certain things like physical damage to 2 formations, doing 240% damage. Has the same skill that we talked about a lot of times, where commander attacks have a 120% focus damage. Now, she also has a skill which affects her ability to be able to heal, which is a big, yeah, it's kind of a big debuff to her. But she's okay, but not in particularly fantastic. I would put her at okay at best, and I think that out of these 3 commanders that are okay at the moment, she is definitely not as good as those 3, so she's going to be placed in the 4th position of okay at the moment. Moving on next is Zegrid. Zegrid is actually quite decent. He has a skill called Reckless, which this skill has a 25% damage buff and a small chance of madness to self. It is only very minor. He also has Commander's Formation Attack plus 20 when battling on empty lands. He then has the ability which does 700% physical damage to 1 formation with a 2-round cooldown. And at level 10, 180% extra damage done to mounted units. He also has a skill that increases the attack and defense plus 10 to the commander's formation. So he's going to be able to do quite a lot of physical damage. It is quite decent. And in saying that, I said I believe that Zegrid is up there as a quite decent commander into the absolute great section. So I'm going to place him up into great, just below these 2 guys. But yeah, has the ability to do some good commander physical damage all round. Moving on next, guys, we have Lathar. Now, Lathar's going to work really good with Reaper and Stalker units, where he has a skill where Reaper and Stalker's attack is buffed by the commander's formation only, by, I believe it's 12 or 15. He also has the ability of a skill of doing 240% physical damage to 2 formations. He also has a focus damage skill, which is the same as Ring Wraith, which is going to do the 250% with a chance of stun. And he also has the skill which increases attack buffs to 2 formations. So all in all, Lathar is quite decent. I would be definitely putting him into the good section. He is not as good as the 3 commanders that you can see in the good section at the moment. So we're going to place him just below those 3 in the good section, below Mouth of Sauron. Okay, Quawan. Now, Quawan is going to have 3 skills which are going to affect 3 formations, and it's going to be the same effect for dwarves, elves, and men. It's going to do a a defense reduction, either whether it's going to be for the elves, men, or dwarves. So if they're mixed as well, it's going to affect all of them, so it can be quite good there. And that's about it pretty much, though it's just going to having a lot of those skills, and of course the Ring Wraith skill as well, which does focus damage. In all of that, I think he is an okay commander, definitely better than Adunane, so I'm going to place Quawan into the okay section between Azru and Adunane. Next, guys, we have is Glasha. Now, Glasha has some skills. For example, for the same 2 rounds, commander's attack damage reduction of 2 commanders, 50% reduction at level 10, you will gain 4 rounds. Also, she has poison damage, which will affect 1 formation each round for 2 rounds. Also, for 3 rounds, attack of 3 enemy formations reduction, which is really good. Now, I would be placing her up there into the great section. I think she is quite a... Sorry, not great, into the good section. In between Lathar and Mouth of Sauron, that's where I'm going to place Glasha. She is definitely not a great commander, but she is quite good. That was just a little mistake there. So yeah, we're placing her into the good section. Moving on, next we have Ugthrak. Now, Ugthrak has skills like Searing Axe, where normal attacks will have a 50% chance to do 300% burn damage. And at level 10 has a 60% chance. Has another skill called Pursuer, which does physical damage attack to 1 formation. And also has a skill which afflicts the commander's formation attack buff of plus 20. So Ugthrak is actually not too bad now. Definitely better than he was. I think he is definitely an okay commander. And I'm going to be placing up in between Azru-khor and Ugthrak. Like such, is going to be placed right there in between Azru and Quawan. So yeah, moved up a little bit in the world Ugthrak there. Moving on, next we have Khaldoon. Now, Khaldoon's going to work good with melee units. Has a skill where melee units for 3 formations has a 30% chance of damage reduction of 10. Also has a few physical damage attacks, which is going to affect 1 to 2 formations. And that's about it. So Khaldoon has had a massive reduction. So at best is an okay commander. And I'm going to be placing all the way down in the okay section between Quawan and Adunane. Okay, moving on, next we have Gorbag. Okay, Gorbag's actually not too bad. So for the commander's formation, he has the chance to do 300% HP heal with a 1 round cooldown. Now he has an interrogator skill, which has got the same skill as other commanders, like Maltok, who is going to basically do the chance of doing stun 50% to 1 to 2 formations, and has the skill of attack and defense buffs for orc units, and also has the chance of doing madness immunity. And Gorbag's quite good, so we're going to be placing him up in between Glasha and Lathar. Next we have is Maltok. Now, Maltok is going to have attack defense buffs for Commander's Formation, only if you use Warg units, and at a level 10 you will get madness immunity on that formation. It has the same physical damage attacks as Khaldoon that are not that good. He also has the Interrogator skill that we just talked about, which has a 50% chance to inflict stun to 1 to 2 formations, and has a skill that increases damage plus 25% when affected by stun and the madness affected formations. So Maltok is okay, but I definitely think compared to all these commanders, I would be placing up into the okay section, all the way down in the lower section of okay. Moving on, next guys, we have Shagrat. Now, so Shagrat has the chance to do stun to 1 formation, but a 25% damage received debuff. Has the same damage and madness effects and unit effects of defense buffs as we've seen on other commanders. And that's about it I can really say about Shagrat. He's not that good, and in saying, I'm going to be putting him into the bad section. But I think he's better than the other 2 that we got there, so we're going to place him in the top section of bad. Next, guys, we have a Yusraa. Now, she's going to have the skill which Commander Formation has 150% HP heal each round. Also has the skill which does 200% physical damage to 2 formations with a 1 round cooldown. Also, enemy attack and defense reduction of 15, with effects on 1 round when doing normal attacks. And also has that Interrogator skill, which has a 50% chance to inflict stun to 1 to 2 formations. So she is quite decent with her healing and a bit of physical damage. She is definitely up there in the good commanders, and I'm going to be placing her all the way up in between Mouth of Sauron and Glasha, like so, right here. Next we have a Sharku. So Sharku is going to have the exact same healing effect of 150% on her the commander formation each round. Also has commander's attack inflicts 200% burn damage, with level 10 doing an extra 75% burn damage. Also has the Conspirator skill, which buffs the commander's formation, burn damage and poison damage 20, but physical damage reduction of 20. Also has a skill that increases Warg troops attack and defense buffs. So Sharku is definitely gone up a little bit. At best is an okay commander, and I'll be placing all the way up in between Khaldoon and Quawan. So we're just going to place them right here, like so, boom. Alright, next we have is Agzok. Now, Agzok is actually quite decent. So, he has the commander normal attacks will run an extra 120% focus damage. Also has the Persuade skill that was seen on Lurtz, which does 400% damage to one formation. Now, Shadow of the Mist does 130% damage to 3 formations once each round for 2 rounds. Also has a skill called Mountain Warrior that does 550% damage to 1 unit with the lowest HP with a 2-round cooldown. So, Agzok's going to be doing a lot of physical damage. And in saying that, I actually think he is a great commander, and we're going to be placing up into the great section, all the way above Zegrid, in between Sauron and Zegrid. He's going to be doing a lot of physical damage, which is really good, and that even though it's 130% physical damage, it can affect 3 formations, so it's quite decent, and not many other evil commanders have that amount of physical damage to multiple formations. Alright, next we have Betheruil, the crazy cat woman. She is actually quite good now. She has the skill which does 350% HP heal to men or evil men in 2 formations with a 2-round cooldown. Also, she has defense of all 4 formations of men or evil men plus 12. She also has the skill that we have talked about multiple times where commander's normal attacks carry 120% focus damage. And also the skill where 3 formations have a 10% extra damage received for the entire battle. She is quite decent in saying that. I think she is a great commander. And I'm going to be placing her up in between Agzok and Zegrid. Right there. Alright, next guys, we have Cestaro, who is an absolute fantastic commander, guys. So Cestaro at round 7 has a 550% HP heal to 3 formations. Also has the Ring Wraith skill that was seen before, which carries the 250% focus damage to 2 formations, as well as a 90% chance to inflict stun. Also has a skill called Lord of the West, where 150% focus damage with an extra 30% at level 5 against 2 formations, and that is active all battle. So going to be doing a lot of focus damage as well as a lot of healing. Cestaro is actually an excellent commander and is going to be placed up into the OP section, all the way up here like such. Not as good as the Shadow and Sunind, but I think it's a really good OP commander. Okay, next we have Skahelm. Skahelm is quite decent as well. Going to be moving quite high up in the ranks here. So each round has a 75% chance of doing poison damage to 3 formations with a level 5 effect from round 5, deals an additional focus damage on top as well. Has the skill called Dark Ranger, which does 450% focus damage or poison damage to 1 to 3 formations with, at level 10, if it is a poison damage inflicted, it will inflict madness as well. Also does commander formations 50% chance of 120% poison damage upon inflicting normal attacks, and has the Ring Wraith skill that does 250% focus damage with a level 5 effect of 200% poison damage and 90% chance to inflict stun. So Skahelm is actually fantastic now, and I think is an absolute great commander, and I'm going to be placing all the way up in between Agzok and Sauron right there in the great section. Our final commander we're going to talk about is Uglak. Now is quite good. Has a skill called Axe Overlord that does 700% damage to 1 formation with a 2-round cooldown. Then has the skill of Trollmaster for 5 rounds, defense of the commander's formation plus 40, and the attack and defense of trolls plus 5 points at levels 5 to 10. Also has the skill that inflicts bleed damage on 2 formations 3 times with a level effect coming in at 4 times. Also has the skill of Mountain Orc Leader, which the attack and defense of orcs on commander's formation plus 15 and a plus of 5 speed, with a level 10 effect of unit HP plus 10%. So Uglak is going to be doing quite a decent amount of physical damage, inflicting bleed damage, and in saying that, I think it's a really good, great commander, and I'm going to be placing all the way up in between Agzok and Betheruil, and placing him into the great section, like such. So that's going to bring us to the conclusion, guys. I'm not going to make any changes. I'm very happy where I've placed everyone. There could maybe be a few movements up or down, but I think this is quite accurate. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of the Evil Commander breakdown for the new 2.0 version that's coming up, and it will give you an idea. My next few videos are going to be working on some formation videos and stuff on what kind of really good formations for the good and evil side. So keep an eye out for that, as well as a few other videos. So anyway, guys, until next time, peace out, EJ's out, and I'll catch you guys later. See yous. Of the EJU.